Okay, so I think it's best that we begin. Thank you very much to everyone who has joined the webinar this morning. We've got people from all over the world. So we've had attendees sign up from the MENA region over in Dubai, out in Greece, and also across Europe and in the UK. We have a number of speakers today and a lot of content to go through. This entire webinar, we will be sending out a copy of this to everybody. But just like everyone to note that the section on Google, it includes NDA content, which won't be shared outside this presentation. So pay close attention and take some notes during that part of the session, which we're going to start with. So I'll start by just introducing the speakers that we have today and go through a quick agenda. So I'll introduce you to everyone, then we'll go over to Google, who are going to talk about trends and insights. I'm going to go through some best practices that you need to have in place for Google and Amazon. I'll hand over to Jennifer, head of paid social, to talk about social commerce. And we'll also do some website insights as well with my colleague Shanaz. And at the very end, we're going to have some questions. So feel free throughout this to ask questions in the chat. And at the end, we'll pick some of those questions and answer them. Any questions that we don't answer on this webinar today, we'll get in touch with you directly to share those answers. So a quick introduction to my colleagues and fellow speakers on today's webinar. We have myself, Sales Director at Push, and I've been with Push for 10 years, experience working as an account manager and also in business strategy, advising customers on what channels they should be looking at for their digital and how to best utilize them. We have Jad from Google, who's going to be giving you lots of great insights into what to expect this particular quarter coming up. We have Jinakar, head of paid social, and we have Shanaz, one of our new business development managers, who's going to be talking all about websites. And so to start the presentation, what I'll do is I'll hand control of the screen over to Jad. And we hope you enjoy. And as I said, feel free to ask questions throughout. So what I'm going to be doing now is just talking about Google and Amazon as platforms and best practices that you should have in place if you're going to really maximize your opportunities on these channels. And I'll start with the paid search side of things. Now, when we look at platforms like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, usually we're talking about the bottom of the funnel, people that are ready to take action. But when you do build an entire marketing funnel and you incorporate all of the different channels that are out there, paid social as well as paid search, and you build this full funnel strategy, you get more sales at a lower cost. So as much as you can be appearing for the most specific and relevant terms related to your business, let's say, for example, you sell a skincare product, as much as you want to appear for a product like, let's say it's face wash for acne prone skin, that's a really specific term. It's also an opportunity to appear for broader terms like what face wash is best for my skin, and to capture audiences and let people know about your brand. And you really want to make sure you don't just focus at the bottom of the funnel and you take the opportunity to start building awareness. The other thing to bear in mind is that this is a time of year where there's going to be increased competition. Everybody's trying to run digital marketing campaigns in order to maximize their sales. And so what happens with increased competition is we tend to see higher cost per clicks. So again, going back to the data from Google, the earlier we can start to build awareness, to start capturing email addresses and building engagement with people, the cheaper the costs will be at that period of time. Once we hit the sale period, it's going to be more expensive to acquire customers. So if you can actually get people engaged in your brand before Black Friday and then focus on remarketing messages to them and using email marketing to connect with them, you're going to see more sales at a lower cost. The other thing to mention is, again, these platforms tend to focus at the bottom of the funnel, and we're always measuring them and looking at them in terms of their activity to drive sales. Now, one of the biggest things that's been talked about is privacy online. And Google actually have delayed what they call the death of the cookie. So the plan was to erase cookies and that kind of tracking on Google Chrome by the end of the year. And that has been delayed now for another couple of years, but it's still coming. Once we lose this ability to use cookies to track people, these platforms will have new ways of tracking audiences, But in order to maximize how you're going to be able to utilize these platforms, what you should be doing right now is building first-party data. And by that, I mean collecting email addresses, because that's going to be incredibly important for you to engage with audiences and engage with customers and convince them to buy. And also, all of that data can currently be input into platforms to go and find audiences exactly like your current customer database. And the more you can segment that email database, if you can segment that to your best customers, your most profitable customers, the customers that buy particular product categories, the more that you're able to do this, the more effective your marketing is going to be in the future. So let's talk about paid search in general. So first of all, two different types of campaigns which you should be using are shopping and search. This is an example of one of our customers here. So the top results here are the shopping results, and below that are the search results, the text adverts and the shopping ads. Shopping ads, we tend to see lower cost per clicks and better conversion rates because you can see a product, you can see a price before you've even clicked on the advert. But search ads should be part of your strategy as well, because it is all about dominating the page. And on top of that, with the shopping ads, we don't get as much room to be creative. With the text adverts, we get to talk about the key USPs, why people should consider your business. We get to promote more than just one single product. We can list categories in there and so on. So it's really important to have both as part of your strategy. Now, one thing just to make everyone aware of is Google have what they call a CSS system. So you'll probably see in the results, when you search for anything online, a lot of the listings will say by Google, and some of the listings will say other names there, and Push Group are part of this CSS service as well. Now, this CSS service was introduced, it was all to do with the EU and anti-competitive laws, and that's why this service was introduced. But there's an incentive for using it, and that is that you can save money on your cost per clicks, up to 20% we've seen across our customers. So whether you contact Push for this or you explore other agencies, I definitely recommend everyone who's running shopping campaigns right now, if your listings are just saying by Google, it's definitely worth investigating and having a look at the CSS service, because it's exactly the same kind of shopping ads and campaign, but you can actually get cheaper cost per clicks. Now you can take that saving and you can just have more profitable sales, or you can reinvest that in your marketing to actually give yourself a bigger budget to go out and get more customers. Now, the next thing is, when it comes to the shopping campaigns, there's two ways that you can run them. There's a smart shopping campaign, which is completely automated by Google, or you could use standard shopping campaigns, which give you a bit more control, and you can bid manually, or you can use Google's smart bidding on those standard shopping campaigns. Now, when we run both side by side, we tend to see that smart shopping does dominate, and smart shopping is performing fantastically for customers that we work with. The main thing to consider is that when you run a smart shopping campaign, you are giving total control to Google, and you're not always getting data back. So we can't see the search terms people are actually using to get to your site and make those purchases. The other thing with smart shopping is if it stops working, we don't have as much control to be able to go and optimize it and be able to fix what's happening on there. So we often will still have those standard shopping campaigns running alongside smart shopping, even if we know they're not getting as many impressions and that smart shopping is dominating the budget. When it comes to consider, should I use completely smart shopping or should I use a standard shopping with smart bidding? The main observation we have is if there's a lot of demand for your product, if it's searched for often, smart shopping works really well. If it's more niche and there's lower searches for the products, then it's good to look at standard shopping and good to look at what kind of search terms come through and have a bit more control. The main thing when you're using smart shopping to be aware of is smart shopping campaigns are using your product feed from your website. Everything they read in terms of titles and descriptions, that determines what you're actually going to appear for, when you're going to appear, who you're going to appear to online. So it's really important if you're running smart shopping campaigns and you think, right, I've left that to Google, I don't have to worry about it. What you should be doing is ensuring that you're optimizing your product feed and you're looking at titles and descriptions and you're understanding and figuring out what are people searching for? What does Google's keyword research tool show me about how they search? Have I got those keywords included in my product feed and my titles and descriptions and so on? It's really important to optimize that if you want to maximize results when using an automated smart shopping campaign. There is a new introduction from Google that does give you back some control with your smart shopping campaigns. And these are conversion value rules. And so what you can actually do is give smart shopping some instructions to tell it where to find your more profitable customers. So let's say, for example, you're using a smart shopping campaign, and all the data that the smart shopping campaign gets is whether someone converts and the cost per conversion. Now, imagine you're running a campaign and you've been analyzing your customers and you're seeing sales from all over the country. And then what you start to learn from the data is, let's say we're talking about the UK, for example, and you find customers that you acquire from London are twice as profitable compared with customers that you acquire in Birmingham. They've got better lifetime values, higher basket values, and so on. You can actually give those instructions back to Google and put rules in place to say, customers from London are more important to me, and I'd like you to bid more for them because in the long run, they're more profitable for my business. So I definitely start to do a lot of data analysis about your customers, and you can look at locations. You can also use audience lists. So there's a section in Google, an audience library, where you can see people coming to my website. What audiences does Google believe they belong to? And you can identify any audience lists that Google has if they're more profitable. And you can say to Google, this particular audience, I noticed they're more profitable, better lifetime values, higher basket values. I want to bid more aggressively on them. So definitely have a look. If you're running smart shopping campaigns, go and take a look at the conversion value rules and do some testing there to see if you can optimize performance. When it comes to the search campaigns, the text adverts, the key thing to consider is to build a search strategy around your site categories. That's the best way we like to structure campaigns. This is an example of a customer in Mean that we work with called Gear Up. As you can see, lots of different categories on the left-hand side. So we would build search campaigns based on these different categories, and we'd want to make sure we're capturing really specific searches for different products that are out there to encourage more customers to come and buy. Another type of campaign you can use is what we call dynamic search ads. And what this does is it reads your website for all of its content, and it determines what you appear for based on that website content. What it's really good for is uncovering new keywords that you might not have considered that are not being shown in Google's keyword planner. And then a mistake businesses are still making is I still see accounts when I audit them that are not using remarketing. A very small percentage of people buy from your website the first time they visit it. So remarketing across every platform, Google, Facebook, Microsoft Ads, YouTube, is so important to make sure you are retargeting people, encouraging them to come back and make a purchase. Also, when you're running remarketing campaigns, most people, when they do it, they target all visitors and treat them equally. Someone that came to your site and browsed for 5 minutes and looked at 10 different pages is far more valuable than someone that came and left after 30 seconds because they weren't interested. So what you should be looking at is how you can segment your remarketing audiences by different products they look at, by the time they spend on the site, but if they abandon something in their basket, to drive efficiency with remarketing. And it's key to test and refresh your messages as well, because people will get bored if they keep seeing the same banner follow them all around the internet for months on end. Don't forget about Microsoft Ads and Bing as a platform. There is an audience there, and it might not be huge, it might not be massive volumes in comparison to Google, but it's still a place to pick up extra incremental sales. And if you get cheaper cost per clicks, or if you're able to get higher conversion rates because you've got a different audience that you can reach on there, it's a great way to bring down your overall cost per sale when you're reporting back on how your performance is across e-commerce. And then I'll move on to Amazon and just a few best practices here and some things to consider. Well, for everyone that has products listed on Amazon, 40% of sales on Amazon are actually preceded by a sponsored click. So I do encourage everyone that's running and has products on Amazon to use Amazon ads. And what we tend to see with Amazon is it's very different to Google. Google's job is to show people the most relevant search results to them. It wants people to be able to find what they're looking for. Amazon's platform is very different. It doesn't care about showing you the most relevant result. It cares about sales. And so when people are searching online, Amazon's going to show the products that they think people are going to buy rather than the most relevant search results for them. So the aim of the game is to make sure when people are searching, you appear at the very top. And the way to do that is to increase your sales. Now, to increase your sales, there's two things that you need to do. Ads, make sure you get the presence to boost your presence online and make sure more people are aware of you and you have more opportunity to sell to them. And the second thing is to encourage lots of reviews. And obviously you want those reviews to be positive. That's what's going to help you boost your organic rankings over time so that you can remove your reliance away from paid ads. And this is the typical user journey that we see. So when you launch a product on Amazon, investing early in paid ads, making sure that you're very, very present helps you increase your sales. And then naturally what you'll start to see is your organic free listings will start to rise because of that sale activity to a point where you can potentially reach number one and start to reduce budgets on Amazon and remove your reliance away from the paid advertising. Now, other things to consider on Amazon. So when people buy on Amazon, a key reason people look at reviews is because they want to know they can trust who they're buying from. And I'm sure people have had experiences where they've bought things from Amazon and it's been a dodgy product, or they're not happy with the final result. It doesn't look like the picture, it doesn't match the description. So the more you can become a trusted brand in the minds of a user, the more successful you're going to be. Now, brand registry helps you make your page look much more professional and much more trusted. So it lets you use images in your product descriptions. It lets you use charts to compare and link to other products. It just gives users a better experience when they're shopping and looking at your products. And I've got some examples of different customers that we've worked with on Amazon here for you. And here's an example of optimization before on Amazon. A key thing is you've got all this space to put in descriptions and titles and use images. Use all of it, maximize it, because the more information you can give customers, the better. So here's an example of a product. Only 3 out of potential 9 images have been used, very short bullet points and very simple titles. And the product description here, lots of technical information. It's not the easiest to read, especially if you're on a mobile device. It doesn't look attractive. It's just very, very text heavy. So if you look at the difference after optimization, more product images being utilized on the side, much lengthier descriptions full of different keywords which Amazon will consider when it's looking at the rankings. And this is all what's going to help increase the conversion rate because the brand looks more professional, it looks more trusted. And if we look at the product description, it's much more appealing to look at and to read through. Again, this looks like a professional brand. It looks like a company that's selling rather than just an individual, which is a concern people have as well when they're buying online. What you can also do when you use brand registry is build your own storefront, again, giving you a more trusted image, a more professional image. And this is an example of what that storefront can look like. So when it comes to Amazon, my main advice is using all of the product descriptions, maximizing. If you've got 2,000 characters, use them all. Do the same with your images, do the same with your bullet points, and being able to be brand registered is going to make you look more professional and help you increase your sales. When it comes to the paid advert side of things, Amazon's paid ad platform is not as sophisticated as Google. There is a little less control in terms of all the different features Google has. So the key things that we see work on Amazon. First of all, using the automatic campaigns where you give Amazon control, that allows you to figure out which keywords are working the best, which keywords are driving the sales, and you're using this automation to do that. What we then do is we'd say, let's take those keywords and put them in manual campaigns where we have more control, where we can uplift the budgets and bids and focus on driving more volume from those terms. And then finally, the structure of those campaigns. Usually when people come to us with Amazon campaigns, they have all of their products in a single campaign and there's one bid going across all of that with one budget. Now, actually what you should be considering is your products all have different prices. And I'm sure across different categories, there's going to be different profit margins as well. So when you're structuring your campaigns on Amazon, it's really important to actually separate out products into different categories and to consider the differences in product margins when you're building that campaign structure. And that's the end of the Google and Amazon best practices. I'm sure you might have some more questions, so feel free to put them in the chat. And with that being said, I'm going to now hand over to my colleague Jinika, who's going to talk all about paid social.
Thanks so much, Jay. Perfect. So Hi everyone, I'm Jin. As Jay mentioned, I'm the head of paid social, and I've been with Push close to 4 years now, building out the paid social team. So today we're going to touch on everything on how to get ready for Christmas and Q4 in general on paid social. Cool. So I'm dividing today's agenda into what we know, what we should know, and what we should do. So hopefully that is easy to remember. Skipping into what we know, this is basically a summary on every Q4 webinar we've attended as a team in the last month. So this is the webinars from Pinterest, Google, Facebook. These were the key takeaways. The main thing that we hear every single year is that clicks and traffic are more expensive in Q4. So we have to prepare for it. We have to adjust our mindset to be able to scale in Q4. If not, we feel disappointed by what we see as results in the short term, and we might restrict our growth and your business growth. So definitely prepare for this. And with that in mind, also make sure, like Jay and Dad has mentioned, when it comes to your brand, build up that acquisition list as we go through the year. So you can be more efficient when it comes to Q4. So the festive shopping period starts early. As you can see, I've started quite early this year as well, with my Christmas tree in the background. And I kind of put this off today, only realizing now with Zoom you can just have a generic background. So that's an hour wasted. But yeah, so Christmas start early. It usually starts in September onwards. So Pinterest, basically, I've looked into how much incremental sales can you gain by actually positioning yourself and targeting Christmas keywords. And they worked out around 6% in incremental sales. But if you look at the conversions, you can get 4.7 times more conversions if you start to advertise early. And one way brands are doing this is through the advent calendar. So I know a lot of our clients are starting to promote their advent calendars from early October. And this is a great way to address those early shoppers who are interested in Christmas. Expect no loyalty. And this is quite a sad message, but it's true. Customers look for offers during Q4, and yes, there will be a few brands that they remain really loyal to, but don't rely on that. Make sure your offer is really strong, and make sure you really go back to target people who've shopped with you last year and who've shopped with you in the last 6 months, let's say. During Q3, we really want to strengthen the brand loyalty and make sure we're always top of mind for customers. So when it does come to Q4, there might be some loyalty, but don't rely on this. Do make sure you have a strong offer. And I mean, this has been the same message for years and years and years, but it is true every year. So customers will browse and buy on mobile. And it is really interesting that, most of us focus on our home pages when we think about, is my website fully optimized for mobile? But actually, a lot of people land on your product pages. And this is where there's not necessarily so much attention. Make sure your product pages are optimized for mobile, and you have the very strong CTAs at the top, as well as it's easy and seamless to check out on mobile as well. And this is making sure that the customer don't have time to have any doubt in their mind before purchasing. It's a quick process that they will go through. And what we have seen in the past is when offers are too complex and a customer really have to think about, okay, so I need to add 3 products to get this discount. It doesn't work. So keep it a generic offer, 20% across the website, and it's super easy for people to understand. And due to the iOS privacy update that was rolled out in March, we know that it's going to be a challenge to scale this year. And that is because Facebook is not getting as many signals, real time signals, as it did before. So, what I mean by that is we've lost visibility on the conversions that our campaigns drive. And when we used to scale our budget, it used to be real time looking at the conversions that we can see from campaigns, and then increasing our budget. Now we've lost that visibility. So, it is a challenge. So, what we are planning to do is, yes, we look at Facebook, but more importantly, we look at the overall revenue figure in Google Analytics or a third party tool, or you're even directly in your Shopify store, because this would tell me if you are driving overall more revenue real time, and that allows me that flexibility to scale up my budget. Okay, so that was a quick summary on what we know. This is what we've had every single year. This is what every webinar is saying. Now, what we should know. Not every shopper shops the same during Christmas. And this is a really nice kind of summary I've taken from a Pinterest webinar I recently attended. And I've adapted it slightly so we know how to approach this from a paid social point of view. If we think about shoppers, we usually just say, okay, people interested in gifts, let's target them all. But actually, there are so many different types of shoppers. And if we position our product and approach them in the right way, we can maximize our revenue. So firstly, you've got the early bird shopper, and this is the person that will buy an advent calendar 1st of October. So do you target them early with an advent calendar or with a very direct Christmas message? They are ready to shop and they are ready to get ready for Christmas. The traditionalist, so follows the same buying pattern every year, and they love anything Christmas themed. So if we think about the traditionalists, they're going to be the people who bought from you last year. So make sure you have your CRM list ready and you can retarget them with a Christmas message. Everything as well, make sure that's Christmas themed. They know what to expect. The self-gifter, so this is a bit of me here, taking the time for Christmas to be very selfish, and self-gift to myself. So these are the people who, yes, I'm going to think about other people, but also when I see a necklace, I'm going to buy that for myself and treat myself. So make sure you do, where you have a gifting ad, you also have an ad that talks about self-gifting, treating yourself. It's been a hard year. And this is really important because actually sometimes we see that people really respond to the self-gifting message and spend more money on themselves than other people. And that's just the fact of it. We're a selfish world. The rookie host. So this is the one that is doing it for the first time. You're probably mid-20s. You're starting to host Christmas and you actually will just buy everything for the first time. And with these people, make sure we target our complete product list or product categories to them because they're going to be interested in everything, not just specific products. So yes, this is how we would approach them. The shipping first shopper, so these are people who are only shopping online and they will ensure that, they know your return dates, they know that it's going to arrive in time. So definitely be clear about your delivery dates, cutoff dates, return policies. These are things people really look at Christmas time. And the last minute shopper. So these are the people that Jad is kind of mentioning as well, that are buying gift cards because we've kind of looked or figured this out last year. It's actually really easy to buy a gift card for someone and send it directly to them. And this is not a trend that's going away. So once your ads and campaigns that are cut off and have a cutoff date, once those fade, target people with gift gift cards if they haven't bought, because there might still be some last minute shoppers looking for a gift even the night before Christmas, and they'll be interested in those gift cards, so it can still maximize your revenue. So yes, this is just a summary of how we can approach all these different shoppers, and it's not a one glove fits all approach. If every shopper is different, then we have to accept that every channel will be different as well. So let's not have the same approach across every paid social channel. And this is basically how we will be approaching every social channel. So we as a team have been testing every single channel out on every single channel that we can in the last year, because we really want to figure out how to use these channels together to have a really strong multi-channel strategy. The first thing we figured out is it's great to tease on TikTok. And what we're starting to do more and more is run like lead generation ads on TikTok, where we can get really cheap traffic, really cheap clicks. We're early adopters there. And we're not necessarily asking people to buy, because what we're figuring out is people don't always like to leave the TikTok platform. Once you're in TikTok, you want to stay there. So we are building our CRM systems through TikTok, and offering people a one-time offer code through TikTok. So building CRM and teasing on TikTok. Pinterest. So when we get to Pinterest, these are people who are planning way in advance, and they are looking for inspiration. I think as early as July, we started Christmas keywords kind of coming in through Pinterest. And when I'm talking about those people, the early adopters or people ready to shop in October for Christmas, these people are on Pinterest. So make sure that when it comes to Pinterest, you are early there in terms of your Christmas campaigns, because these people are ready to buy. And when we look at search queries coming through Pinterest, it is unbranded and it will be a longer tail query. So for instance, it will be gifts for men under £50. Go after those type of queries on Pinterest as well. When we think about Snapchat, here we want to be social, but be direct, right? Because Snapchat is actually a really good customers to target. They are usually, the average order value from Snapchat is much higher than any other channel. And over the years, they've really refined their own system and their own algorithm. So it's a really good platform that's more stable, let's say, than TikTok, which is an early adopter platform now. So if we think about Snapchat, have your product ads there, but position it, for instance, in terms of like a product demo that someone can watch, because it still needs to have a social aspect to it, even though you are you're selling to people, and people are okay with that on Snapchat. And then we come to Facebook, which obviously includes Instagram as well. And here, the beauty of Facebook remains that we can target our whole funnel on Facebook. So it is a great, great channel to make sure you are still investing enough in Facebook, and target every single funnel. So from cold traffic to your warm traffic, to your hot traffic, to your existing customer, make sure you cover everyone and focus on everyone on Facebook. But the key thing is speak to people differently. And this is the one thing that we always see across accounts is we're running the same, or people are running the same ads across the different funnels. And if you think about it, that makes no sense, because why are we speaking to people we know differently in the same way? So definitely make sure you adjust your messaging for Facebook. Okay, so what we should do. Planning is key. So this is how we break down Q4 into 3 phases. So we think about September, October as phase 1. Here we're talking, or we're thinking about focusing on launching and inspiring. So our main objective here is cold traffic and building up those acquisition lists. So if you think about channels, we're spending more money now on TikTok to acquire those lists and build up our CRM. We're running video ads and using story and video placements because we want to inspire people. We want people to watch content that we can retarget come Q4 November specifically. And if you think about it now, don't expect people to buy because they know what's coming. So optimize your campaign towards view content or add to carts, because that's what you want people to do now. You want people to be viewing content and you want them to get the carts ready for Q4. So don't be disappointed if your CPA goes up in the short term. It will pay off come November and December. November, shift into high gear. So now we are basically looking at cold, warm, and existing traffic campaigns. We're starting to roll out our whole funnel, targeting people across the whole funnel, and move majority of your budget into conversion campaigns and go after that purchase event because now you're expecting people to buy. Run carousel ads, single image ads, and product ads. So, you've inspired people now in September and October with your brand and educating people around your brand. Show them what you have to offer in terms of products come November. And then December, January. So stick to the finish. It's a long period. It's a marathon, we say every year. So stick it out and continue with your conversion campaigns. Continue targeting the sales funnel. Obviously, adapt your ads to be more Christmas focused as well. Target each holiday shopper differently. And January is always a period where people kind of miss out on opportunity because we've gone through Q4 and we kind of cut things off come last New Year's Eve. So do bear in mind that January is actually a really cheap time to run campaigns, and it's usually when everyone pulls back spend. So you've just had people buy from your brand maybe during Black Friday and Christmas. It usually benefits brands to target people within 2 weeks of purchasing. So if you've had a lot of new customers come through in November, December, make sure you send them an email or you work on your email marketing so they can remember you and maybe buy again in January. If, for instance, you have let's say a winter sale in January. So that's still a very key period. Don't forget about it and don't miss out on the opportunity. Great. And this is a chart that shows you basically how you should be allocating your budget against different customer behaviors, but also against different campaign objectives. So as we're now early September or late September, early October, you'll see that the awareness spend is a lot higher, and it's definitely a higher proportion. As we're moving into November, weighing your budget more on the conversion spend, especially during Black Friday, and then that decreased slightly towards the end of December. But this is a really good way to think about it, how to really maximize over this time period, and do adjust your budget, have different expectations because people are gonna be acting differently through the Q4 period. So we shouldn't just expect sales from 1st of October. We should definitely warm people up. And if we only do 4 things, do this. So firstly, install the conversion API. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, please do get in touch. We can guide you through that. We're happy to offer support to any brand who get in touch. So the conversion API is going to help us come Q4 get some of that data back that we've lost through iOS. Number 2, do an account audit. Understand what are your benchmarks if you're going to move into Q4, and do not do a year-on-year comparison, because last year was a completely different ballgame when it came to e-commerce. So do look at 2019 and 2020 when you do your account audits as well. If you have no idea where to start with an account audit, get in touch. We have a great 2-pager we can share that our team is using to answer questions. So that can really help you do your account audit. And number 3, set weekly spend and ROAS goals. So once you have an understanding of how your campaigns have performed, set those targets so you know what success looks like and when to scale as well. That's really key. Do not go into Q4 blinded by previous results or not understanding success. And every year we see Facebook completely black out 2 days before Black Friday as everyone's trying to publish. So ensure all your ads are built at least 5 days in advance, and you can relax with a cup of coffee and just toggle them on Black Friday morning. There's going to be no building and publishing. So that's definitely going to make ensure that everyone has a much calmer Black Friday. So that's all from me. I really hope this has been helpful. And like I say, if you need materials on the conversion API or the account audit, do get in touch. Our email addresses will be shared with everyone after the webinar. Thanks.
Great. So thanks for that, Jenica. Guys, my name is Shanaz, and I am part of the new business team here at Push. And essentially, today I want to discuss with you a few bits around your website and how you can have the right website optimized for Black Friday, for Christmas, and for Q4 as a total. So obviously, Jad, Jenica, and Jay did mention a few things, but I just want to recap, just giving you guys an overview around your website, what your website should look like, what the experience should entail, how to avoid friction. And when I say friction, this is a key term that's going to be used throughout the presentation. It's anything that slows down the customer from buying from your website. And finally, we move into the trends for Q4. So your website is your best marketing tool. Despite running search ads, email marketing campaigns, shopping ads, paid social campaigns, everything funnels back down to your own channel, which is your website. Nowadays, your brand site is the primary channel when it comes to learning about your brand. It is your storefront. People have shifted consecutively to online advertising. Now is the time to be able to demonstrate and position yourselves aggressively when it comes to Q4 in specific. So going back to what Jad has mentioned about, your website being the most effective channel, and Jenica making sure that you have the right mobile speed, etc. It is key to make sure that it is you're all aware that it is the main hub to redirect users, and thus it is key to make sure that you have the right user experience. Having a website that lacks the main pillars when it comes to the UX and the UI will actually affect your overall success. And this is specifically what I want to discuss with you guys today. So 5 key pillars we discuss with customers when they come to us, when they're putting together a new full-fledged website. First and foremost, you really need to understand who your audience is and how do you ensure that people will find your website. Is your website able to communicate with each segment effectively? Understanding who your audiences are in order to map out the right design, the right content to them to make it stand out to these users. Is my website mobile first? Is it responsive? We all know that nowadays we're on mobile, we're navigating through mobile. So it's really important to make sure that you have adapted that desktop version to your mobile as well. And essentially, what are my unique selling points and call to actions? And how do I make sure that, if I have any promotions running, anything that I want them to know prior to the launch of the promotions, that they're highlighted and captured on that homepage? And finally, how do I ensure that people find my products and services, which ties back to what Jenica and Jay have mentioned about the paid social and the paid search side of things. So the aim of the game here is to create an omni-channel approach where you allow users to move back and forth between the business's physical channels as well as your digital channels. And once you have that holistic, seamless integration, only then you can capture the audience's attention and finally move into the conversion stage where they can actually start purchasing. Now, one of the key things to mention here is that you might not be aware of this statistic, but it usually takes around 0.05 seconds for users to form an opinion about your site. That is an extremely quick, a time for them to form an opinion about your business, your brand, and the products that you're going to be selling as a whole. And actually 88% of those users are less likely to return if they've had a bad experience. So essentially, it really is about capturing those audiences' attentions right off the bat of things, making sure you have the right CTAs, your USPs, and the main idea of what you want them to do on your website as well. And we all know that, the future of e-commerce is big. In 2020, 15% of e-commerce penetration was noted down in the UK. By 2025, that is going to be around 25%. So it's here to win. Businesses now need to know how to adapt and pivot and shift to having some sort of online experience as well. And when specifically looking at the UK, consumer behavior as a whole has shifted. So whether you're looking at age groups between 18 to 34, 35 to 54, 55 onwards, everyone is looking to move online. And this could be due to multiple reasons, whether it's, you don't have time to go into a store, it's more convenient, people can deliver things to your house immediately, next day delivery, it's cheaper. There's multiple reasons why people are shifting online, and it is here to stay. So it's really about identifying who your audiences are and reaching out to these audiences with the right practices during this time period. So touching on the experience, going back to how do we create a frictionless experience when it comes to your own channel? So when we use the term friction in marketing, it really indicates a potential sticking point from a customer in their user journey in their pipeline. So how do I create that seamless experience where a user lands onto my website, sees the product, moves to the purchase journey, and finally converts without having any issues throughout that pipeline? And that is going to be significant, especially when you're looking at, key holidays such as Black Friday, Christmas, and so forth. So we all know that, social commerce is now here to stay as well. So you have platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. All of these platforms are actually using and integrating with e-commerce platforms such as Shopify, where you can now actually, within a click of a button, go to a checkout process and buy or purchase what you're looking for. So social media has actually changed the way our lives work on a day-to-day basis. So it's really important to have the right website presence, but more so now with these social platforms coming to play as well, it's really key to make sure that you have the right positioning on your social platforms as well. That way, when they see your product, they're able to with a click of a button, go to your website and finally convert, knowing that they already know who you are, they're intrigued by your brand, and they're ready to make the final conversion. Speed of expectation. This is one of my favorite topics to discuss on a day-to-day with our customers. So retailers are seen investing a lot of time to improve their customer experience, to enhance speed. And this could be done through multiple things. I know me and our partner agencies are constantly speaking about, continuous refinement of the UX, the UI. How do we shorten the checkout process? Implementing various payment methods on your website. And it's just trying to get out there and to find ways that we could keep up with the latest trends that are happening and being rolled out into the industry. But what some people are not aware of is that our expectations are rising faster. And as consumers, we're becoming faster at taking technology for granted. So here are 3 examples that I've actually shared, I want to share with you today. So contactless payments for people who are in the UK. When it first became available, how annoyed were you when you walked into a store and they didn't have that contactless payment rolled out? Ubers, when you order an Uber and it takes more than 5 minutes to arrive, let alone 2-3 minutes, how likely are you to cancel that Uber? Amazon Prime, if you don't receive a product the next day, what happens to your subconscious around when it's going to arrive, and Amazon Prime being based on next day delivery? So these are things that are actually changing the way consumer behavior is working. And today, the only thing that moves faster than technology is our expectations, and retailers need to keep up continuously by performing and changing their website presence. It is the only way to change, change opinions and have people actually change the way they look at your brand. So we all know that our world is shifting, and as soon as a new piece of technology becomes mainstream, we need to apply it everywhere. And this essentially happens at the first touch point, which is your website. So how do we go about avoiding friction? And how do we pivot away from friction? Mobile speed is the first and the foremost essential thing to consider when you're building or optimizing your website. And essentially, Google estimates that 50% of users actually leave a website if it takes 2.2 seconds to load. And slow mobile site actually limits the way your business works in ways that you cannot imagine. And Google actually takes your website speed as a way of ranking you on the search engine. So my suggestion would be, if you have a development team that's working on your website, first things first, make sure that your website speed is optimized. And that goes about, I'm happy to answer a few questions around that, but essentially looking over your, making sure your website, your images are optimized, making sure that your plugins are up to date. These small tweaks to your website will make all the difference on the overall search engine. Making sure that you're adapting to mobile buying first. And that is essentially because, people are purchasing off social platforms as well. And not only do people leave a website that is slow, but nearly 8 in 10 customers stop engaging with the content if it doesn't display well on their mobiles. Mobile transactions account for around 66 to 67% of sales here in the UK. So it's really about adapting your website presence to mobile first. I know here at Push, we develop websites on mobile first, making sure that your wireframes and designs are all fine and adaptable, and then we move into desktop. If you have access to your GA accounts, make sure you understand who these audiences are, who your top converting audiences are, in order to make sure that you're reaching out and that you're building the right strategy based on, if they're using iOS or Android or so forth. Security. Most online retailers receive a spike in website traffic that's actually 10 times the normal levels during Black Friday and during the Christmas season. So it's really essential to make sure that you're testing on staging links throughout the process. Running performance tests should be the first and foremost plan that you do take on when you're looking at peak events such as Black Friday and Christmas. If you're using third-party tools, which is going to be the case when it comes to your e-commerce website, any payment gateways, any third-party tools, any email marketing solutions that you're integrating with onto your site, make sure that you're testing them on a staging link prior to the launch of the actual site, making sure that everything is fully optimized and running, and then moving into the release. One of the things that we also do make sure of is making sure that your hosting plan is right in place, that is going to take on the amount of traffic that you are going to receive during Black Friday. And when it comes to security, it really is, and Murphy's Law is the only way I like putting it. It's really about assuming that everything can go wrong, will go wrong. And then if it does, you'll know how to fix it. And it's really about going back to the planning stages, using this time period prior to November and December to optimize and to scale your website presence. So the final bit here from my end is a couple of trends. So the messy middle is, or what we call as the sticky middle is, what we know happens between the trigger and the purchase phase. And it's not going to be a linear experience. So it's really about how do people decide what to buy all the way from the trigger to the purchase stage? How do I generate the interest and desire? And in the center of the middle of this model lies the messy middle. And this is where it starts getting complicated. How do I use that middle space, that middle ground to capture these audiences' attention and to make them convert into the final purchase stage? And this is where the trends start to come into place. So first and foremost, your design. There is no right or wrong on how your design should look like, but it's key to make sure that you find the right balance between the design that looks modern, but also simplistic at the same time. And essentially to make sure that the user has a seamless user experience throughout. Understanding who your audiences are to make sure that you're designing your website in a way that resonates with your targeted audiences, and trying to implement your brand guidelines. So things such as your typography, your colors and imagery. So you make sure that you have that right strong presence. So people recognize you every time they come onto your site. And the idea, the aim of the game here is not just to focus on, this time period of Q4, but how do I retain and build that retention across all boards so they come back and convert on the site at a later period of time. And when it comes to design, there are a few ways we can go about designing a site. And you can see in this illustration, it's really about either choosing what suits your business. Either you go for something that's a theme-based approach, which is purchasing a template that already exists out there and then just readapting and modifying that based on your brand guidelines, or building something that's bespoke, something that's very niche and tailored to your business. And what we've done here is we've put a couple of insights around, what the differences are between a theme-based design and a bespoke-based design, and how that affects your overall website presence as well. Usability, so the user experience. I cannot stress on how important it is to simplify the checkout process. We can't deny that our attention spans have decreased significantly. So it's really about, how do I minimize the number of touch points on a website to make the user have a frictionless experience? And how do I boost these impulse buying purchases during Black Friday by doing that one-click model where they can seamlessly just move to the checkout process and check out from there? So few tips on ways to improve the checkout process. Consolidate your checkout page to one specific page. Have only your limited, make sure that you have limited fields. So I don't want to sign up and have all the details put in. What a business needs to know is your delivery, your name, your email address. That's all I need to know, and essentially the payment as well. Those are the only things that I need to know as a business to get the final sale down. Offer more payment options. So, we're starting to see how people are, integrating with PayPal, Apple Pay, American Express. So giving that user the flexibility of, buying based on what they already have out there. And enabling automated cart abandonment notification. So this is where we start to see personalization come into place. If a user added to the cart, I want to receive a notification on what, I have 5 more minutes to purchase something from the cart, or receive an email about specific offers that I might also like that are related to this product. So it's really showing the end user that I really understand what you're looking for, and I'm going to get you to that final stage, which is the purchase stage. Website videos. Selling is all about storytelling. And by the end of 2021, 87% of content is going to be video. So it's trying to identify ways to share your story, ways to stand out, and ways to engage with these users. And taking it down to a more detailed level, there are really several ways of how you can reach out to these users when it comes to content. You have at the top left here, entertainment type of content, which is focused on awareness. You move into the inspire stages, how you educate them and how you convince them. So depending on what product you're selling, you might see that you might lay in each category here. And it's about identifying what these audiences are resonating with the most in order to create a content strategy to map out to every type of goal on your website. Finally, your coupon codes and promotions. There are several ways businesses are doing this. One of my most favorite is Sunglasses Hut here in the UK. You land onto the website, you have a clear call to action. You have the clear button here. You have my clear, unique selling point, and I'm able to go out and search through the stuff that are actually on sale. So it's really about A/B testing, not complicating it too much, providing users, as Jenica did mention, providing users with that, specific 50% off, 20% off, whatever is catered to your business. And also A/B testing ways that the user can, what they might necessarily like, identifying an automatic discount that could actually boost the sales and conversions. So you might do buy one, get one free, sneak peeks, gift guides, and so forth. So it's really tailored to what your audiences are after. And you really essentially wouldn't know until you start A/B testing between all three. And finally, live chat integration. So online customer support is a critical part of the e-commerce puzzle. We as humans are wired to want to be understood. We want that human interaction. It's a way to create that, that two-way communication to really get across what I need now. And essentially, it's a way to boost the revenue and your conversion rate on the site. The longer the shopper spends on your site, the more likely they are to see your product's value and become a long-term customer as well. And what we've seen is that, users or businesses that are actually using this live chat service or this chatbot service are seeing a 10% increase in the average order value before checking out as well. So it's a way to offer a great experience. I wouldn't see why no one wouldn't take on this trend. It could get quite complicated when you're looking at, let's say a Shopify site versus a Magento site, but we can definitely help when it comes to that. And I'm just going to open up to a few roundups and questions now. Over to you, Jay.
Well, I'm going to keep it very brief. Thank you to everyone who joined. We are over time, and I know all of us were working on condensing our content as much as possible, but there just is so much to consider for Black Friday. So I really hope everyone found this webinar useful. I've seen a few questions that have come through, so we're going to reach out to you all directly, and we will be sharing a copy of this webinar with everyone shortly, either today or tomorrow. So thank you everyone for attending. Apologies for overrunning, and we look forward to talking to you next year about our e-commerce insights from this coming Black Friday. Best of luck to all of you who have campaigns running, and feel free to reach out to us if you need any help. Thanks very much.